Oh, now my security. There we go.
All right.
Awesome.
Let us begin. Yes, do it. Thank you, Amy. We have a chime that we have a gong, but we took the gong for the microphone that we're holding over here. So anyway, we wanted to first and say thank you and good afternoon to everyone here. We are being recorded, so this was a last minute change, so that's why we have a little bit of mics, but don't worry. It's right there and you aren't caught on camera unless you want to be. So, okay, so welcome to the From Personal Experience to Purpose-Driven Business, Women Leading Eldercare Solutions. I'm Pat Setji, founder of Clientific, and I am thrilled to be here as your moderator. First, we'd like to thank, Forward Fest. You all have been here all week long, and the opportunity has been fantastic. And Starting Block, obviously, Beth has been wonderful for this great venue we have here. And thank you all for being here because we know it's been a long, productive week. We know some of you are juggling work, and some of you actually moderated sessions and been at sessions. I'm looking at Amy here now in the back where you've been very busy. And the only thing standing between you and us and the happy hour later on is this session here. So let's begin because we have a lot to talk about here. An hour is going to fly by. And we want you guys to participate as well. So it's a small group. So if you want to, you can come up closer. We had people saying that they were coming. It was 50-some people saying they were coming, but we're guessing people had to drop out.
Thank you.
But we'd love to make this an intimate forum so you can ask questions. But let me frame this. Today we're going to explore personal stories and how they turn that into their innovative businesses. Here, especially in healthcare, in tech, and caregiving, and how they're solving real life problems. We're highlighting these women founders in fields where women are often underrepresented in leadership and in funding. So today, here's how we're going to spend our time. We're going to start with introductions. You're going to hear their origin stories. Secondly, you'll hear tailored personal questions for each of them. And then we'll do a segment on revenue and sustainability. And then we'll have a chance for you to ask questions if you have any. And then we'll do some final takeaways. Does that make sense? Okay, so starting from left to right, I'm going to introduce you all and then they can tell their personal story, and each one has a minute. So Angie Ingraham, our first panelist, she is a surgeon scientist with nearly 20 years in quality improvement and patient advocacy. She now leads True North Patient Advocates. Angie, can you share your story and what your company does?
Sure. So as Pat said, I was a trauma surgeon at UW for almost 10 years. And then 2 months ago, I launched my independent patient advocacy business. And so as an independent patient advocate, I help clients and their families navigate the healthcare system. Everything from going with them to appointments, to transitions of care, to finding in-home care needs, any kind of need that anyone has related to healthcare, billing and insurance questions. I'm there to help them because as we know, the healthcare system is crazy and very, very hard to navigate. I started this business as a result of my father having glioblastoma, and he just got different care because he had an advocate and one who was a physician by his side.
Great, thank you. Nymia Sanyang, founder of Barako Home Care. She combines professionalism and compassion to provide trusted in-home support. Nymia, can you tell your story and what your company does?
Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for sharing your Friday afternoon with us. It's a pleasure, and thank you for doing that. For me, Barako Home Care, launching it was deeply personal for me. I didn't just launch it with a healthcare background, but as a mother, an immigrant, a minority, who experienced firsthand what it means to get care at life's most vulnerable moments. And I will tell you why. 23 years ago, my firstborn was born with a congenital heart defect and has underwent 2 major surgeries. At that time, being a young mother, being an immigrant, a minority as well, not knowing anybody in the country, I was terrified, scared. But with the compassion, the care, the medical treatment she received, changed everything for my family. And I carry that depth of gratitude with me till this day. And this is why Barako Home Care exists. And this is why I launched this business to give back to the community that was there for me at the time of need. A community that doesn't look at me like an immigrant, a community who lend me their soldier to lean on when I need not to fall, a community who make me feel at home. This is the thing I could give back. That's why I launched this home care.
Thank you, Nymia. That's a great story. Andrea, our third panelist here is Andrea Finck, founder of Lightsome Estate Concierge, and she has deep expertise in finance, organizing, and guiding families through life's transitions. Andrea, over to you to share your story.
I don't know, but I was about to cry. So personally, I'm an empath, so I soak up everyone's emotions. So so thank you for being so vulnerable with your story, first of all. So yeah, I in terms of origin stories, I have actually started 3 companies, and they're all on what I call take stock moments in life, where something happens and you take stock, which I think like I always say New Year's Day is a mini take stock for most people, right? Because they're going to evaluate their lives. And so all of my, so everything that I have has either come from a take stock moment in my life. And all 3 of the companies that I have are all focused around helping people with their most precious resource, which is time. So I say, it doesn't matter who knows who Jeff Bezos is? Everybody? Yeah. Well, his mom just died at age 78. And you know what? It doesn't matter how much money you have in the world, you cannot have any more time, right? So it's the one thing. So our goal is to help people reclaim their time, and also to bring and help people with what I call sort of an optimum energy flow. So those are the 2 things that we do. My first company I started was in 2017, which is Finding Flow Feng Shui. I do Feng Shui, and I have for many years. And my take stock moment was my mom died. And I decided that I was going to take a hobby of mine and get serious about it. And I knew she would want me to do that. So I did. And then at the end of 2021, I launched Home Watch Madison, which came from my take stock moment of owning a vacation property and having to have many heart-stopping moments, like wondering if the pipes were freezing up north because the Wi-Fi thermostat went down. And also just thinking that there has to be somebody who could do what we needed elsewhere here. And then in 2024, I founded Lightsome, which we're really here to talk about today. And Lightsome Estate Concierge was really about, actually was born out of Home Watch Madison, which is a very seasonal business, and my mortgage is due 12 months out of the year. So I was looking for alternative ways to generate revenue, and Lightsome kind of steamrolled out of that. But what we do at Lightsome is we help organize, manage, and settle estates in a non-healthcare way. So we don't do healthcare, we do organization, digital organization, legacy organization. We help manage properties, and we take care of the things that families or other people don't want to do, or can't do after somebody passes away.
Thank you, Andrea. Lightsome, by the way, is that a family name, or is that?
No, Lightsome means to be carefree. It's actually a really old school term. It means to make merry or to be carefree. So our what we're trying to do is be carefree, and our logo is a creative interpretation of the Chinese symbol for light.
Oh,
so
lovely! I love the name.
It's a heavy light.
Yeah,
I thought it was light, dark light.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Last but not least, Rukmini Banerjee, founder of CuroNow, a tech platform focused on supporting caregivers, drawing on her global leadership expertise and background. Rukmini, why don't you share your story?
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah.
And welcome, everyone. So CuroNow was born from my story, from my family's story, from the stories of all my friends around here. And I am the classic sandwich generation. I've got 11-year-old twins at home, and I'm surrounded by 4 octogenarians. So my parents in their 80s, they live in Australia. My in-laws in their 80s, they live in India. So we're far away. There's very little we can do for their day-to-day needs. But the part that my husband and I focus a lot on is how we can stay connected with them. So that part we can do from here, and how we can stay regularly connected so that if the person providing help locally needs anything, we are aware and we can jump in as appropriate. So CuroNow is a mobile app, and it is designed for the family caregiver so that they can help with anything that their aging family member needs. And we're right now in beta launch. We're targeting a launch next month. So very, very close. And we're starting with logistics management first, and then moving on to access to services. So the logistics management is a bit like what Andrea is doing. After that, moving on to services, what Nymia and Angie are providing. From there, the plan is to move towards integration with wearables, sensors, Alexa Home, Google, make it easier to interact with. And really the last outer ring of what we are planning to deliver is care for the carers. The carers need support, and that's really the vision of what we are providing here.
Great, thank you. And curo means care in Greek, right? That's what
correct, in Latin. Curo is Latin, and now is now.
Excellent.
Do it now.
And before we go on, I want to make sure I give you a chance, Nymia. Is Barako, is that a name that comes from family, or does it mean something?
It does mean something. Barako means in our native language, home blessing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I was going to talk about it later. That's okay, you asked.
Sorry, jumping ahead. And then True North, do you want to talk about True North and how you were inspired by that? I'm a marketer by nature, so I like to understand the origin stories.
Sure. So, as I said, I was a trauma surgeon for almost 10 years, and with a little bit of burnout. And then when my dad had gotten sick, I was on this kind of uncertain path of what I wanted to do. So I had actually thought about opening my company, got a little chicken, and went and worked for a corporate for-profit healthcare improvement position. Was there for about 8 months, didn't really like it, and then said, I'm going to open this business. So it's true north for my families, so that we are on their path, and a lot of it is around figuring out what the client's goal is, because that can get lost in healthcare. But it's also finding my own true north in my own career journey. So
I love that, Angie. So I'm so glad the microphone ended up in your hands, because you're going to get the next question. And welcome. You guys can come up front if you like. Feel free. It's a small group. So feel free. Okay, so we're on to the panel discussion now. And this is a 25-minute section, so everyone gets 5 minutes, and you can chime in if there's something that one of the panelists don't say. But the first question is for you, Angie. You spent nearly 2 decades leading clinical teams. What was the moment you realized your personal experience wasn't just your story? It was a broader problem that you needed to help solve for the world. We'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so we are actually really fortunate in Madison to have a really core group of patient advocates. So we're actually all meeting next week, but there's like 8 to 10 patient advocates in Madison, which is really unheard of. The way I found out about patient advocacy was actually in helping my dad. So he was going through open enrollment, and he was on a Medicare Advantage plan, and we had struggles with getting him his care with Medicare Advantage. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go and try to figure out if I can switch him to traditional Medicare. I don't know if any of you have looked at traditional Medicare. It is daunting to try to figure out traditional Medicare. The A and the B part are relatively simple, but then you get to what they call supplements, or these Medigap plans. There is literally like A through G plans and like 10 plans underneath each of them. And so I went to a friend, I said, I'm really struggling with how to do this. She said, well, why don't you go to the Center for Patient Partnerships? So if you aren't familiar with it, the Center for Patient Partnerships is at the University of Wisconsin. It was founded by a lady named Meg Gaines. So, and Google her, she has a TEDx talk. She's a retired law professor who had ovarian cancer and struggled to navigate the healthcare system. And so founded the Center for Patient Partnerships to help in a pro bono way to train law, social work, nursing, medical students in a supervised manner to provide patient advocacy services. So that was really my first introduction to patient advocacy. And then I started to look into it more. And I now sit on the board of a nonprofit for patient advocacy. There are actually 4 different health advocacy organizations that are professional organizations. I'm a board certified patient advocate. There are 1,300 board certified patient advocates in the United States. So it was this realization that this is truly a profession. People are making a living out of this, right? So a lot of people do this out of the generosity and because they want to help people. At the same time, you can make a career out of this and actually have this be a reliable source of income. So for me, it was really realizing that I am not alone in the struggles that my dad had, and there is a professional way to help people and to use the knowledge, experience, and connections that I have. A lot of what I do is just simply because I have connections that unfortunately other people don't have.
That was great. Your take stock moment, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really, I mean, the very, I'll give you the one example that, so my dad had glioblastoma. It's a very aggressive brain cancer. He had surgery scheduled for a Thursday. He had a functional MRI scheduled for Wednesday, which is where they map your brain to figure out where they can go and where they can't go. Tuesday at 3:00, we got a call saying that his MRI was canceled because we didn't have prior authorization. I kept him on the phone for 2 hours. I moved the MRI from the morning to the afternoon. The only reason he got his MRI was because I knew his PCP. She was a girl I went to medical school with, and I texted her, and we got the MRI done. But then I sat in the waiting room with this 4-hour exam. I heard them say to other people, your MRI is canceled. Your MRI is canceled. Your MRI. Literally, it was it was on repeat. And it's I am, my dad was 69. He was healthy. He passed in 5 months. But this is a way that I can take my experience and my knowledge as a physician. I know how the system works, and I can help people just get the care that they want and the care that they deserve.
That's an incredible story. I mean, we've all been in our own health journeys, right, and gone through that. I can't imagine, just someone who was sick at the time doing it on their own. So you're doing a great service.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes to what so many of us are trying to do, from home care needs to so my dad, he was diagnosed 2 weeks later. He was in surgery. We redid all of his estate planning, every single part of his estate planning, from powers of attorney to making trusts, doing all of that. He had 11 brothers and sisters. So having what Rukmini's developing as far as, keeping everybody together and on the same track and on the same page, it all intertwines. And it's all, in my mind, how do we help our clients in these times when what they need to do is be focusing on their health and their family and not worrying about the rest of the stuff.
Thank you for that, Angie. Does anyone else want to add a perspective on that turning point moment? All right, we'll move on to you, Nymia. You launched Barako Home Care. What's been the most difficult part of turning this mission into a business for you? And how has your identity shaped how you lead?
Thank you. Like I mentioned before, Barako Home Care, launching it is a passion for me. And launching that passion to a business, it's difficult because it's like balancing my heart with sustainability. And doing that, I know running a business and it requires navigate around the system. And with my story being said, not knowing much, not being an immigrant, how to struggle with things, but I try to focus and center my values to how I will serve so many people with my empathy and dignity, and also to make sure that when I serve them, they realize that something is different because our values is different from what I learned from here at Kim. Can you imagine you care for somebody and look at you in your eye and say thank you? For me, it's more rewarding than money. So the challenge is how to do more of that. It's being rewarding at the same time, but a big challenge because I'm struggling with the system still.
And you've got 45 people working for you now?
My husband today is 54. The last time we were at
Incredible.
45, yes.
Incredible. So how do you get that infused into every single employee who works for you?
So I value my employees. Simple reason, the reason why I am today, they put me there because of the service they deliver to my client. And I can attest to that if you go to www.Barako Home Care and hear from the client's own word what they say about my staff. So they mean a lot to me. My investment all goes to my staff because they put me where I am today.
That's incredible. So how has your leadership evolved as your business has grown?
So my identity shaped who I am today. I run this business as a mother with empathy, but as a woman with strength and a vision. And my goal is always every client, every team member feel seen, feel valued with dignity, not only with the service we do, but as a one family. Barako Home Care is one family. All our clients are living the blessing of their own homes, living the blessing in their own homes with their service provided to them at their own time, at their own will. What is blessing than that? This is who we are as Barako, and this is what we do.
That just hits me. You can feel the emotion here. I don't know how you guys feel, but that's really, really remarkable. Okay, Andrea, as someone who has founded multiple businesses, as you talked about, in real estate and after loss, what advice would you give other women considering a mission-driven business?
Yeah. Thanks. I think, for me, and sorry, I have notes because I did want to at least try to stay on script a little bit in terms of what I wanted to make sure to share. But I'm always a 3 or 5 bullet point person. That's my marketing, what are those top 3 or whatever. So my top 3 pieces of advice would be, number 1 is, and this is, the riches are in the niches. So that is a phrase. I'll say that again. The riches are in the niches. And I stole that phrase from a podcaster that I follow called, it's the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast, which is really great. And which we all start out as wantrepreneurs, right? And then hopefully we become entrepreneurs. But the other is, my second piece of advice is perfect is the enemy. And my third piece of advice is, what is your core business? And so just to kind of elaborate on those, really, what is your niche and what are you going to own, right? What do you want to be known for? So even in a broad category of, we all have like broad business categories or something, you still want to be that, like I saw Barb come in, like I know, when Barb comes in, I know, like she is the ringleader, in her industry in Madison, like unquestionably. So you want to be, Barb's a daily money manager. So so ringleader in a above board way. So right, but it's really what do you want to be known for, and kind of where can you carve out your specialty, right? And some of us grew up in the insurance. I grew up in the insurance industry, right, where they're all commodities, right? So what do you want to be known for? How are you going to differentiate yourself? And then as somebody who has been in marketing, it's never good enough, right? You can work on, the notes page for 3 days if you want to. So it's just about a perfect is the enemy. Do something. Take a step every day, right? And because we need to keep it moving forward, right? It's never going to be perfect. You just kind of got to launch and figure it out. And then I always say, would you pay you? Would I pay me for what I do? It's kind of a good kind of question. Would I pay for these services? And I'm also I use my gut to make decisions. So I follow my intuition all the time. And so those are the things that, so you can kind of say, is this ready? Are we good? Are we going? And then learning, mistakes are learning in disguise. So that's why, again, perfect is the enemy. So my one business called Home Watch Medicine, we take care of people's homes while they're away. So think of a snowbird who's gone for the winter. And I lost one of my clients' keys to their house. That was a really fun.
What was the last
I
thing you
lost
said?
I lost the keys. I was out taking care of homes, and I lost the keys to my client's house. You think that's yeah? And okay, so talk about 2 sleepless nights. I found somebody on Facebook or Craigslist who is a metal detecting guy, and we metal detected an entire yard in the snow. This was in the wintertime because most of the people are gone in the winter. Yeah, I used dowsing rods. I
Oh my
did.
goodness.
I like tore my house apart, my car apart. I literally like tore all the lining out of the base of my car. But you know what? And then I finally had to call my clients, and this is my first year in business, and say like, I lost the keys to your house, which was horribly embarrassing. And because you know what, they're giving me their alarm codes, and you know we're bonded and insured to take care of their property, and I lost the keys to their house. So then, and it just so happened that that the woman's sister-in-law lives in Madison and had a spare set of keys. And guess what? The woman that I had to go get the keys from, I used to work with at a company, and so I knew her.
Small
So I
world.
even had to know her, which was horror, so embarrassing. Anyway, pardon me. So anyways, but these are so this is learning in disguise. That was 2 nights
Absolutely.
of sleep. That was like 2 sleepless nights plus. So,
Did you find it?
Oh, it was actually found at another client's house. So I think what happened was I took something out of my pocket in the wintertime, and their window cleaners found them in the spring.
Fantastic.
So,
There's a happy
But
ending.
since then, I have a protocol with keys. First of all, like they're attached to something that's attached to me always. We have 3 sets of keys for every client. They're all locked up. You know, it's just the things as an entrepreneur, you're like, yes, I know I need to have that, but I just didn't. So anyway, but I mean, these are the stories that are that. And then, I mean, finally, what is your core business, and stick to that. So I've always had a saying, stick to your core business, because as an entrepreneur too, like, you know, we have shiny new objects. Ooh, that sounds really interesting. And I think I'm going this direction, and you know, and it's okay to expand and to do that. But I do think you have to look in the mirror each day and say, like, what are we really here for? And what are we going to do? And it's not that you can't expand, and you can certainly pivot and say, you know what I really wanted to go into business for, it ain't going to work, but this does, and that's okay. But still try to figure out what your core business is. Sorry.
Those are fantastic anecdotes. Thank you so much, Andrea. I would have to say, if
We'll
you guys
pass
see
the
those
buck.
marketing materials, she
That's
is our marketer here. Andrea put these together, and if you flip over, you can see there's the profiles of all of us. So Andrea does not let perfect get in the way, but they're perfect. So we love them. Thank you. Okay, Rukmini, last but not least here, let's ask you a question. Many elder care startups focus on the patient, but CuroNow is centered on the caregiver. Why did you choose this focus? And what's the overlooked opportunity in supporting caregivers?
It's a great question. So I think we all know and understand that the world is growing older. This is not just an American problem. This is worldwide. People's life expectancy is going up, and on the other hand, birth rates are dropping almost everywhere. So I think the good part is I feel like both the public and the private sector have started understanding how massive this problem is, and that we cannot not do anything. And there is a whole lot of focus on innovation, dollars, and even policies towards this aging and elder care and improving how we age. I feel like in all of that, the person and the people who get forgotten are the family caregivers. That ecosystem of caring is very, very dependent. And I'm pretty sure anybody who has experience with caregiving from the inside or even from the outside will distinctly understand the difference between a patient who has the support of family around them and the connectedness versus somebody who does not. And I don't feel like there has been that realization yet. And it's just a matter of priority. The problem is massive, and everybody's trying to do as much as they can. And therefore, it does make sense to start with the patient, with the person who's aging. But I feel like that's what called me towards the caregiver, the family caregiver, who is really, and it's not a small number. Like when you set up a business, is this big enough to be a business where people will pay, right? 1 in every 5 US adult today is caring for an aging family member. Like, this is not child care, disabled care, or anything. This is a very specific, 20% of us are caring for aging family members, right? So it's a very big number. The startling stat that actually made me go, okay, I gotta do something, is I read in a government report that said that people who provide care, caregivers, have a 40 to 70% higher chance of cognitive challenges themselves over time than people who don't. And as I said, my parents live in Australia. They live with my older sister. She's the primary caregiver. Her son now, for the last 3 years, he's 34 now. He has had a lot of medical challenges. She's shuttling. Right now, she's in Singapore, spoke with, because he needed an emergency surgery. She called me this morning and said, I'm flying back to Melbourne on Sunday because dad's birthday is on Tuesday, and then mom has 3 doctor's appointments the week after. I am talking to her and I'm going, oh my God, this is what I am doing to her in a way, because she happens to be physically local to them. And I happen to be so far away that she is taking the brunt of all of this. So what is it? How can I ensure she feels seen? My sister understands that I understand what you are doing, that yes, I pay money sometimes, but that is so different than this constant. When I go to Melbourne, and sometimes I give her just respite, like go for 2 weeks, you and your husband just go somewhere, I'll take care. I don't sleep those nights because my mother's stroke had happened at night. She had rolled over and fallen from bed, and it just happened to wake my father, happened to have the emergency workers come immediately, and therefore, knock on wood, like, she has had a miraculous recovery. But somehow, like, when I am there and they're there, I do not sleep at night at all. It's like when I had newborns and I could not sleep at all because I'm always listening for something, right? So why not caregivers would be the question I would ask. Like, that is a massively growing group. Women are having kids later. Our parents are living longer. So this sandwich generation is also increasing right now more than ever before. So I think there needs to be far more focus on caregivers. This is our attempt at starting.
That's great. So would you say that the overlooked opportunity is also for the siblings who can't be there with the primary caregiver, so that you're feeling a guilt, right?
Very much. And I think there are like 3-4 types of needs that this group has. One is the physical, I have to drive them here, I have to track this, I have to do that, like physically I have to do this, I have to navigate, I have to understand the stories Angie was talking about, I have to provide that understanding, knowledge, decision support. So that's one big part. Financial is another very, very big part. Like there is a very, very big group of people who this is really, really hard, like to keep a full-time job, to actually support their own family, their children. And now if there is financial needs that come up here and the hours I'm spending here, therefore I can't work, I'm not getting paid as the family caregiver. So financial is a very big part. Guilt is the third part. And this is even for people, all of these groups that I'm connected with, it feels like it's a circle. Like I provide that for my parents, and then it gets overwhelming and too much, and then I vent, and then I say things I shouldn't, and I behave the way I shouldn't, and then when I calm down I realize that, and that guilt then comes in. Oh my God, I shouldn't have. So I think, and you understand, and I'm a first generation immigrant in our world. That's why my family is just spread all over the world. We cannot be like, I'm 2 sisters. My sister's in Australia. I'm here. My husband's 2 brothers. His brother is in Germany. We're here. It's like we are very, very spread. So how do you stay connected? It's the same father. It's the same mother. It's the same aunt. So that connectedness is another very, very big part of, could we build something that helps people, A, do it easier, less inefficiently, B, make them feel a little bit more seen and valued. It's like when we were at work, we would say something that doesn't get measured doesn't improve. The same way, something that doesn't get seen doesn't get valued. If you're just doing it and nobody knows, they don't know all the things that you have to do. Until you write it down or you tell someone, you go, oh my God, you did all those 12 things this morning in the 1 hour. So I think that's the attempt to bring a little bit more, make it more visible, and hopefully therefore shareable.
Right. And so one last point, what kind of impact do you see when caregivers are supported?
Oh, if like in all of these things, if we can give them support, like physically with services, like access to trusted services and stuff, if we can give financial support, if we can give connectedness support, any of these makes the caregiver feel better. They can be so much more present to actually now be there for the person they're taking care of, that I am absolutely convinced it will be a better outcome for the patient as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some studies, but it's hard to have that very direct linkage of the mental cognition load dropping on the caregiver to better physical outcome for the elder.
That's great. And I see tie-ins to all of that with all four of you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone want to add anything else to that before we move on?
I will. That's the reason why me and her always connected with our background. Yes. Family caregiving could be very tense. People seem to take care of their family to the point they forget about themselves, and that burns them out. You have to be able to care for yourself first, able to care for somebody who is there, who need the help. And I always try to remind my clients, I have some families members who I hire them as a staff and they care for their family. I always want to make sure, please take care of yourself. You can only do this work by taking care of yourself first, and they will come next. If you burn yourself out, that means it's two things. You are out there, and he or she is out there. We are losing two here, and we want to keep going. So I encourage them with that, and make sure, like I say, care for them. Let's pay these caregivers what they do. Andrea, where I'm from, we care for our families without no pay. It's natural for us. We care for our parents, our grandparents. We do not have this opportunity that there is facilities or home cares that you can take them when they are old. You take care of them until they die. So that value is with us. If I tell you that I have clients who choose who they want me to send it to them, you won't believe it because they see the different. I'm like, this is us. That's how we grow. This is the value that's been put on us. So it's not going to be the same, but I'm trying my best to bring the same value to this team I call Barako.
That's wonderful.
I'll add something briefly too. So I think the other theme that I hear is consistency and preparation. And I think in the world of elder care, the more that we can prepare, like we're all getting older, our parents are all getting older. So the more that we can put some thought and intention into that, whether it is like the financial side of things or like having your advanced directives, having a plan as far as long-term care and how you're gonna pay for that or provide that, the more that we can think about these things ahead of time, the less stressful it is when they do happen. And I think the other thing is just like kind of this consistency part, whether it is, having the same caregiver in your home so that that person who has dementia has reliability and doesn't throw them off. Or for, the caregivers, when Rukmini goes, it's like, if okay, like this is mom or dad's schedule, right? Then she knows where to pick up. She knows like what, what their needs are, how they like things done. And so I just think like it's such a complex system, but we don't think about all the complexities of it. So the more that we can have that documented in an app or, with Andrea's financial, systems, like having things just laid out. I don't think people think about that enough, unfortunately. And then it's when the crisis happens, then it's when you're thinking about it. And it's
never an ideal time.
It's never ideal.
Yes, great point. All right, so I'm going to shift us to a business focus now. And we're going to talk about revenue and sustainability because I think that's what everyone also thinks about here during Forward Fest. So we've heard all of your stories, and now I want to talk about building for the long term. So for many mission-driven founders, especially women in caregiving and elder tech, sustaining and scaling a business can be just as challenging as starting. So I'm going to go down the line here now, starting with you, Angie. So great that you have the mic again. How are you approaching revenue, funding, or long-term growth? And where do you see the biggest opportunities and the biggest roadblocks?
So I have been in business for 2 months, right? So I am still in the learning process. I am actually very fortunate in that I did not grow up in a wealthy family, but when my dad passed away, I did get a small amount of money. And so I'm actually using the money that he has, he provided me to fund this. And so I'm self-funded. But I am also in this growth stage where I'm trying different things out, right? So right now, the way that I have clients, and I have 4 clients, is that I have an initial flat fee that I do an assessment with them and develop a plan with them, and then it's on an hourly basis for my services. But I'm experimenting with that. I'm thinking about monthly subscription models. My goal is to make my business from both a business and a delivery standpoint, what the client needs. So if I need to develop something new to meet them where they are, it's nice. I'm a small business owner. I'm an N01. I can make those decisions and try it out and see how things work and pivot from there.
Thank you. Okay, Nymia.
Same to me.
Same question.
Yes. Well, I'm not from a wealthy family either, not in middle class. If I could say poor, I would say poor. But I survived it. I started a business with a client that I was taking care of myself. And the moment this came to my mind that I wanted to do this, like I said, my daughter's story, I've been having caregiver when she did her surgery, the 2 surgery at home, because I have no healthcare experience at them. I was so scared. Anything I do, I think I'm going to hurt her. Especially she was on oxygen with 5 types of medication that I have to measure with string. A little bit of thing, I think I'm going to hurt her. But seeing people coming over with that experience to teach me, I know I could do this, and that's why I do this. But what made me where I am today? I'm a caregiver. If you can see today, I have few family members here, but my husband, my daughter herself, whose story I was talking about, my son, they are all working. That's the reason they couldn't make it here, because we have about 5 call-ins today. I work myself today 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. before I get here. So this is who I am as a caregiver. I charge hourly, but like I say, the money is not for me. For me, the reward, thank you, is a big fortune for me. But at the same time, a business, like, I'm not gonna lie, we need the money. So, so now we are transitioning from hourly rate to daily rate. That's why our goal is to have this called adult family home, or a facility where I could retain my clients who are leaning toward going to the facility because they cannot be in their own homes. I do in-home care. So we secure 2 homes that we are satisfying to be an adult family home. So maybe from there to a facility that where nobody will go to the assistant living or going, but Barako living assistant, whatever they call it, if the name will come. That's what I'm looking at in the future. And that is my goal, is to retain my clients and to get more of those resources to provide to them and to my staff to do the job they are doing, to able to get more clients and retain them. So retention is my goal here, and I'm doing my best. So far, we're doing great. Like you just asked me, started from 1 client to 1 staff to 45 to 50 clients to 57 staff. So I feel I'm so proud of myself. I know I could get there one day.
That's impressive. Thank you for the story. Okay, Andrea, you're up.
That's next. And this is, it's really interesting. So I was thinking about this in terms of like, what are the opportunities and challenges and how do we scale and all that kind of thing. And I think when I think about all of the entrepreneurs I know, the challenge is to go from to being the OEO to the CEO. And the OEO means only executive officer. And a lot of us are the only executive officer. So we're like you just said, right? You were the boss and you make the choice. And what I find is that in business, a lot of people are good at the thing. Like I'm really good at building houses. So I'm going to build houses and I'm going to go start my own construction company, but I don't know how to market or do bookkeeping or legal or anything else. Right. And so, but I'm good at that one thing. And those of us who are good at that one thing have a really hard time transitioning to being the CEO because and I think that, so that's like, I want to be a CEO, not an OEO. That's my goal is. And I see that people who are serial entrepreneurs are really good at being a CEO because what they do is they take a system and they apply it to any set of problems, right? Like I can go in and I can apply, you know, how we scale up, how we do this, how we deliver operations. And so to me, like the opportunity ergo challenge is to become a CEO from being an OEO because we all like stay up till 1 a.m. working on our website or trying to do social media that I'm terrible at, or, you know, all of those things. So like part of it is like, how do you find your fractional dream team is right. Like all the, you know, a fractional CMO, a fractional CFO, you know, and also pay them because you don't have any clients. So, you know, that's one of those things, right? Like, you know, startup, you know, startup, functional in some areas, not always functional startup, right? And Pat's company is fairly new too. So I think that to me, figuring that out and finding and engaging the fractional expertise and brains that I know, because I worked in corporate world for 30 years. So I'm used to having an IT person who was saying that they were just fighting with their computer. Like, oh, yes, right, you know, and like there is no IT department to call. And so I think we have to, and like, you know, really, if I got hit by a bus today, how could somebody else do the company? I actually have people who work for me, but I don't have a standard operating procedure manual. So I think those are the challenges of scaling, and growth is not linear, you know. Oh, I'd love to have one new client a week or a month or whatever. Well, it doesn't work that way, and we all know that. So it's just how do we work in that? And then for me personally, with my businesses, the challenges come from I'm in basically pretty unknown industries. You know, there aren't 1,300 of us around. And it's called an after loss professional. It's an emerging industry. There's not really there's a certification that's just coming out, but it's a little bit tricky. And, you know, death is not really a sexy industry. I was like, if you want to have the sound come out of the air go out of a room at a cocktail party, just tell people you like do stuff for the late you related to death and dying. You know, it's a real upper. So we have to kind of like make death be okay to talk about and that type of thing. And then also the people that I am trying to get to, that we try to work with, they're in very like long-standing kind of what I call unimaginative industries, which are like estate planning attorneys are my number one target for referrals and partnerships. And they're not really open to like somebody who kind of does some of the same work as them and might like take some of their hourly billing away, but they really don't want to do that kind of work. So how do we, you know, like how do we, and are we legit? And the others like funeral homes, you know, like they're not, you know, these are not necessarily innovative businesses who are coming up with new and different, in general, coming up with new and different ways to help people. So for me, the challenge has been not really the business know-how, but just trying to get education about an industry that no one has heard of. It's not like, I always say, it's not like you're opening a dentist office and I could hang a sign outside. We have to explain what we do. But to Rukmini's point, the market is growing tremendously. The demographics are unbelievable. People who have lost a parent or are in the process of losing a parent or a loved one or anyone that they have to care for are overwhelmed. They have absenteeism. The average family member who is in charge of taking care of an estate for somebody spends over 500 of their own hours doing it. It's like, it takes years. It's like having a baby. You have one and you're like, I've never had a baby before. I don't know what to do. And then you think, oh, you know, and even if you have a second baby, because maybe you lost one parent and then your next parent goes, it's totally different. Again, it's all new and people are overwhelmed. So there's definitely opportunities, but the growth and the hurdles are, for me, education and scale.
That's a great analog, thinking about it as having a baby, right? It is a big milestone.
It is completely overwhelming and you're exhausted.
Completely.
Beginning and the end.
That's right. So, Rukmini, how are you approaching revenue growth?
The one who has no revenue? Someday. So as I said, we're going to launch next month. So revenue 0. Thank you. Need everyone's best wishes. The way I think about this is, I think, and my world is, therefore, I am also self-sustaining. So I have self-funded. The only ones, are there any lawyers in this room? The only ones I've paid real money till now is lawyers. That's the only real money that has gone out. The rest has been extremely kind friends, ex-coworkers, UW students, people who have absolutely jumped in. Like yesterday morning, I got a message from someone I worked 13, 14 years ago. Peripherally, I just knew of her existence. She said, I've been looking at your posts. I'm very interested. How can I help? Big or small, tell me what I need to do. And I'm having coffee with her tomorrow. Like, this is how my experience has been. It is the mission appeals to people. People want to, students are doing it also because they are getting experience working on something real to get out of the ground. So that's been the cost side. At some point, will I need to raise money? Absolutely. So if you know of people who are sitting with money to give out, but I'm also hoping that the idea is, and I think Nymia, you put it really well, is this is something we're all doing because we want to do it. We see the need. We are not here, at least I can speak for myself. I never really wanted to be an entrepreneur. That was not the goal. I just chanced upon it after years of working in a corporate. I transitioned out of my last job. I'm talking to people, and then I went, oh my God, within the first 10, 15 minutes, everybody's talking about the stress that has been added unplanned because some event has happened to someone aging in their life. And so that's why I'm here to solve the problem, but to build a sustainable business to ensure we can do this and actually help the people, we have to make revenue. We have to build a business that makes sense. That's a profitable business. Maybe if we sit down and chat in 6 months' time, in 12 months' time, I will have a more grown-up answer for this.
That was a very grown-up answer, Rukmini. Okay, so hearing all this, it's clear that each of you are really doing your best in balancing purpose with pragmatism, and that's where innovation happens. So it's incredible. So at this point, I'm looking at our clock. We are right on time. We're going to open it up to the room. If anyone has any questions for these amazing women here, we can do that. And if not, I can kick it off with one last question to them. So no pressure.
First, a comment. If you got together and wrote a couple together, you'd be a bestseller, and I would buy it.
Oh, so
This is not my first rodeo. I have no reason to suck up. I'm owning my elderism. So
thank you.
And then the other thing that I've been thinking about on this journey, both the whole continuum, you have the continuum of how do you make the caregiver seen, and also those being cared for seen. In our society, where there's ageism, and I'm going to put there's all isms, all kinds of isms, whether it's being a woman or the predominant is assumed, or if you don't have family relationships, how do you fall through the cracks and become homeless? So the question overarching for both the caregiver and the receiving the care is, how do you make and encourage and put structures in place so you make the decision with and not for? So me being a caregiver and supporter of my mom in Eau Claire, rather than me being the protector so my brothers don't make the decision for her and shrink her universe too quickly. Or on the other end, where the guilt or you getting burnt out, or Mom, you can do this. You have the capacity still. And I want you to do this, and to like close my eyes for a day and keep coaching on that, right? Because she can volunteer and she can still be active. So there's things, and what you all are doing is so precious, whether it's afterlife or during, but think about these things with great intention and quality and awe and magic and pragmatism. I would love to hear your thoughts on how you can not shrink the world and at the same time be pragmatic, and how do you not make the decisions for and with, preciously honoring what they are needing as much as they can.
I can start. Primarily because I have the mic, the power of the stick. I think this is an incredibly important thing. And if you leave aside the subset that is they cannot make decisions for themselves and they have POAs, that let's leave that aside. I think a caregiver's role is a support role. And it is very, very important that both the care receiver and the caregiver understand that it is a support role. It is not the primary role. And it is very important, as I am seeing with my parents, and there's a whole lot of, it will depend on the person themselves. It will depend on the relationship you have with that person and the prior history you have had growing up with that person, what kind of relationship, and the person you have become today. And with my parents, I see they're very, very different people. My mother, she has always been a housewife. She's not worked outside the home. She loves being, my dad used to forever cuss at her. She got married very, very young. He did almost everything. Oh, that's too hard for you. I'll do it for you. So she is used to that. She very much appreciates and wants my sister to make those decisions for her, to the point where we tell her, like, she even wants to tell her, what should I wear this today? And we tell her, no, you can make that call. Do you feel like the red today? Do you feel like the yellow? What do you want, right? My dad, on the other hand, has been a very high-powered C-suite leader for a long time, and he is struggling with this. I no longer can go into a room and whatever I say goes. And he is really, really struggling with that. And this is like, and we're a very, very open and very comfortable with arguing kind of family. A lot of love, but a lot of arguments, and especially me. But this is what I tell my sister, because I think that is the value. Because I'm a little removed, I can actually see what's happening. It's much more emotional for my sister in the moment. Like, there is this whole debate that happens. They want to go back to India and spend months there because their friends, their family, their nostalgia, that's my home. They want to do that. But we know that the healthcare that they will get there will be absolutely subpar to what they're getting in Australia. My mom is surrounded by 7 specialists. And my sister therefore tries to go, and the conversation I just have with her over and over again is, what you're telling them to stay back and not do what they want to do may actually make them live 2 more years. It may, but they will be miserable because you're not allowing them to do what they want to do, even when you know it's the wrong thing. It is physically, probably health-wise, the wrong thing, but they want to do it. It's their life, it's their decision. And it's a very hard balance. But I think and it's in our mission statement written down. So anybody who helps me, they read that mission. This is a part that I say, our job is to empower and support the caregiver. Our job is not to take over the life and take away agency. Like, if we do that, we are failing.
I'll add just a little bit. So I think look for resources. So there are resources out there. The National Institute on Aging, the IHI have discussion guides for people to have these crucial conversations with older people in particular. And so the more that you can have those conversations ahead of time, and they give you guidance on how to have those conversations, because they're really, really hard. And, especially, when it comes to driving, when it comes to living alone as opposed to, going into an assisted living or some other kind of facility, those are really tough conversations to have. And I do think that it helps, like Rukmini was saying, if it's possible to bring in a third party who's not related and can somewhat take some of that tension out, whether that's a social worker or, even the ADRC, so Aging and Disability Resource Center. There are a ton of nonprofit organizations, national and local, who are there to support you in those conversations. Yeah, exactly.
I'm happy to talk about this one though, because that's what I exactly do, supportive home care. So, and I happen to be the one who do the assessment when I do assess the client. One thing I wanted to know about them is you got to know what they like, what their hobby is, and use that, make sure that they do what they want. You'll be surprised. The reason we call this supported home care, we want them to stay in their home, to do things they enjoy. But if they don't have that, they tend to lay back and they become lazy and become sick. And this is where the nursing home or the facility will come to. So when I come to visit you, the first thing I say, hey, what do you like? Tell me what do you like? Tell me what's your favorite color? What do you want to do at your leisure time? You wouldn't believe some of them will tell you things. When you start doing it with them, after 3 months, when you go back there, you see the difference in them. And if every staff, if I should match you with a client, I want to make sure those things are going to be happening because this is what he wants to do, or this is what she wants to do. Make sure you do this stuff with her. This is why she's staying in his or her own home to do things he loves to do. Maybe the family doesn't have time to do that with him. We all know in this country, families are working, he doesn't have time. That's the reason I put you there, to make sure that he gets what he wants, to make sure to retain those skills he have, not to lose it. That's my focus, and that's always been my goal with my clients.
This is such an incredible question. Anyone else want to comment before we close it out? Because I see it's, yes, we're wrapping it up here. So thank you. So, do you want to end here? Yeah. I was going to have you guys close with one last thing. If there's one thing that people want to walk away with, what should that be? And then that'll be our final thing. Angie, go.
It's never too late to change. So I'm 46. I was on an academic surgical research career path, and I did a hard right. And so you can change too if you want to.
So inspiring. Go ahead, Nymia.
For me, what I want to take away today, people to know that leadership is really a service. We have to know that person and business, they are never separated. These two work together to create a big impact. This is my takeaway today. And if anybody have a loved one looking for care, or in your network, Barako is here for you. They will be in their own homes, enjoying their own service at their own will, at their own time. This is what we call Barako Home Care. It means home blessing.
Wonderful. Andrea.
Well, thank you. It's always so hard to follow, Nymia. So, but I would say a final word, just continuing on the path of just the entrepreneurial bent that we have, is just pick your business and stick to your core business. Know what your business is. Know your why, all that good stuff. It's all there.
Thank you, Andrea. Rukmini.
I think, and I don't know all of you, but the one thing I will leave you with, and it's from my personal experience as well, is there is a lot of self-doubt always amongst all people. It shows up differently. It comes at different times, and it doesn't matter. Failure is part of learning. That is the only way you learn. So just do it. Do whatever you feel like doing. Just do it. Don't harm people. Do it. It'll either give you joy, or it'll give you money, or it'll give you both, or it'll give you learnings. Just do it.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
That was fantastic. And thank you. Yes. Inspiration. Yes, we appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you all at the happy hour afterwards. If not, then please be in touch.
There's a happy hour at 5 o'clock.
Yes, 5 o'clock.
100th State. Please join
and
us.
The address is 17 South Fairchild.